Hello, folks. Welcome to this episode of Feast Foreplay, the place where we're having conversations about the things to come. I'm feeling really excited about this episode because I have Vida and David with me, both of whom I'm trained with. I think Vida and I were both first year students when we first did our sexological bodywork qualification. And David, you were a coach or a second year student in that cohort. And yeah, I think that training is just like so life changing in my world. And you've both been incredibly unique and creative and generous characters in the feast space over the last couple of years. So I'm really excited to share you with our audience and yeah, just to have a really rich and exciting conversation. Thanks for being here.
That's so nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to kick us off with the same question I'm asking everyone at the beginning. And I'll give you both an opportunity to answer because it is around your unique experience. The question is, what was your first experience in a group erotic learning space? And what did that lead to in your life in the months and years that followed? If one of you feel inspired to kick us off, then jump in. I think
Well,
it's you,
I've got
David.
one that's come to mind.
Yeah.
So, Vita, you can keep thinking. Uh, my first group erotic experience, like in that space, was being a test body for the sexological bodywork training in
Mm,
like a earlier kind of way that they were doing it. So they had groups of people come in and get on the table as practice clients for a day, like a day during the training. And I'd been a client of Uma's for a one-on-one client for a while, and she asked me to come and be a test body. And so that was my first experience. That's where I met Susan. Um,
mm.
but that was my first experience. And uh, even though I'd been doing one-on-one stuff for a while, it was still such a different, extraordinary thing to be involved in. Amazing.
Amazing. And what do you feel like that was a catalyst for in the time that followed?
I think it was a catalyst for doing more, like stepping into more group spaces,
Mm,
definitely, because it was so well held. And it was like that
mm,
was a really good first experience of being in a group erotic teaching space because Dij and Uma, are so good at holding uh, a space like that.
mm,
And so I had no real kind of fears of things being opened up that I didn't want
mm,
opened up or
mm.
being asked to do anything that I wasn't comfortable with or anything like that. It was a great encouragement to keep doing that kind of work.
Mm.
And yeah, it certainly encouraged me to do the training the next year.
Yeah,
Mm.
right. So it was the next year afterwards that you did the
Mm.
training to certify as a
Yeah.
professional. Yeah, huge.
Mm.
And then you've gone on, obviously to work in this industry or this line of work in different ways. And then also, you serve the SSEAA, which is our association, our big body for this industry and our practitioners. So, and you've, come to Feast the last couple of years and brought incredibly unique workshops. So I'm hearing that as like a starting point for a lot of things and a lot of ways that you've impacted us, really positively, our community, particularly our professional community. So yeah, it's beautiful to hear that. Thank you, David.
Mm.
Mm. How about you,
Um,
Vida?
so I think my first one was a workshop space that was kind of. I'm thinking it was a long time ago now, so I'm like struggling to remember. But it like a tantra, very like witchy tantra one.
Mm,
And my experience was that I was completely overwhelmed, very highly distressed. I felt extraordinarily challenged. I actually couldn't participate with it. I left
mm,
the space. Um, and it was very apparent to me how challenged I was. And I felt very out group. It was very confronting experience, actually.
mm.
And I cried a lot.
Wow, significant.
But I do think that it compelled me, uh, as a starting point, it compelled me to really want to of just becoming aware of how challenged I am
Mm,
in a group erotic space or even in just like a sensuality and sexuality space.
mm,
a lot of the emotions it brought up, just realizing, that's something that I would like to continue to face that. And also it compelled me, if I really think about it as a start point, to want to, I often reference that and think about how can we have beginners in spaces and how can we hold spaces for people who, for wherever they're at, you know, and that's, so I do think that was, I always think about back to that, and it's like, how could I have been held in that space as a beginner?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I would love to hear from you, actually, because that's something that was popping up for me too. And it's like, you know, some people's starting points are really challenging, and that's just the reality of it. And especially in this space, there's a lot that can be done to support that and cushion it and have people feel like they're not alone, or they don't have to completely tear themselves out of the space or the community to seek refuge. So I'm curious, from your point of view and your experience, what does FEAST do well to support that in comparison to an experience like that you had?
FEAST is amazingly supportive. It is though. It really is. There's so many people there whose role it is to support. It's central. I mean, I don't know what the new space is going to be like, but there's a whole, the whole team, the people being there, and you know, and I think really having a cohesive between the support people and the volunteers and their facilitators, a cohesive concept around support and compassion, and you know, the shared, I think it's really shared value, and it's like at the forefront. Not I never see it as really like a catharsis space or a space for like going to those extremes. It's more of an incremental, that's how I see it anyway, that it's a safety conscious space with so much support. So
beautiful. I love that. I feel like there's a couple of core pieces there, and you know, obviously I'm biased, which is why I wanted to ask you. So but like what really came up for me then is like our focus on learning and how empowering that is, rather than our focus on, you know, charging people through an experience. And I think a lot of sexuality spaces out there are experiential, which is beautiful, but if you're not skilled yet to be able to navigate that, and they don't give you the tools to navigate that, then you end up having a really rough ride. And something that we do at various stages in FEAST is like give you toolkit. It's like we're constantly giving you toolkit, and most of our workshops continue to give you toolkit, you know, and so you're actually upskilling and learning. How do I need to speak? What do I need to notice in my body? Who do I need to be in touch with? Who do I like to, you know, get close to and not be close to? All of this information and the skills you need to navigate it, you're being given. And then you get to take that out into your life. You know, it's like that doesn't just stay there. So I think that's one of the things that really excites me and, you know, really sets us apart. So I love that you touched on that.
Yeah, I think there is of uses for catharsis and for high intensity experiences. But I think as a whole, maybe we do that a bit too much, or we lean into that a bit too much.
The intensity, high vibe junkies of the modern world that we are, just like, give me, I just want to eat it all. And it's like, oh, now I've got indigestion. It'll take 2 months to sort this out, or 2 years. So wonderful. Thank you. And I just want to drop in there because, I mean, I think both of you are aware we've asked you to do it, so you would be, but it's not at the forefront of all of our minds because we haven't done it before. This year at FEAST, another thing we're really excited to bring is these support pods where there's going to be daily check-ins with the same group of people that you're placed in. So there's this continuity of connection with people inside of the larger group where you can feel like you've got a bit of a crew. And if you need to reach out to someone, they're with you, you know, along the way. So I'm really excited to see the impact of that because that's new to FEAST as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Epic. So I'd love to hear from both of you. My next question is around what do you think makes doing erotic development work so important for people and so valuable? Like there's so many different ways that you can approach the personal development world, and that industry, the coaching industry, the personal growth industry is so huge now. Like it's got so much noise in it. And I'm curious, you know, from your points of view, what makes this particular theme, subject matter of work so valuable and important?
I think for me, the sense of the primacy of the embodiment piece is really the biggest difference between something like FEAST and, a whole range of other much more cognitive or cerebral kind of, whether it's like self-help or groups or group work or therapy. It's not just kind of like a theoretical embodiment. It's just really kind of rich, activated embodiment that, for me has supported everything else that, I did a lot of therapy, a lot of talk therapy before I started doing embodiment stuff. And the sense that there was a piece that opened up after I began paying attention to what my body was saying was a real shift in, it was a step up for me in the capacity that I had to navigate the world and to speak about what I wanted to have an experience and, and what my boundaries are, and created opportunities, to put all of that into practice, and as a person who's like had a very cognitive kind of career and upbringing and a set of interests, finding out that I could practice, talking about boundaries and feeling, what it feels like to set one, and doing, what is it like to say no and feel no as a practice rather than an idea, it's made such a difference to every part of my navigating of the world. And in terms of sexuality, like that embodiment stuff is the underpinning. And so I feel like now I can explore whatever catches my interest if I want to, with this kind of bedrock of stability.
Amazing. I feel like one of the big things that I just got from that is like the conversion between, being in our heads and our minds and then dropping down into the body is like things really start to happen, like in our personal experience, but also in our lives. It's like the rubber hits the road and stuff starts to convert. Yeah, that really.
Yeah, I mean, when I read about interesting stuff, I have this moment often when it's really good. It's like, oh, I wonder what that's going to be like to do it.
Yeah.
But when you're in that space, particularly at something like FEAST is particularly good at it. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wonder what it's going to be like. You can if you want to, but you can also just be right there.
Yeah.
Having the full experience.
Yeah. Epic. What were you going to say, Vida?
Oh, just that I definitely resonate with the comment that you made about how this now impacts everything I do in life and all of my relationships. And particularly accessing embodiment and pleasure, and exploring embodiment and pleasure and really being in your aliveness and exploring the goodness and exploring like everything that makes you want to live, everything that makes you want to have relationships, everything that makes you want to like, it's like really going into your most aspirational sense of self and existence. Like for me, and then that impacts every single relationship that I have, and my relationship with my children, my relationship with my clients, or my relationship with my family, and everything you do is now through this sense of like leaning into my aliveness and leaning into my pleasure and feeling and so that's, I forgot what your question was now.
It doesn't even matter. Like, I don't even want to say any words after what you just said. It's like that, what you said, like that's so resonant for me. It's all of those things. Yeah. And it's hard for people to feel even the tangibility of that in some ways, because it is so deep and wide reaching and powerful, but the impact is phenomenal. It's a whole internal wave that's run through my life. So yeah, what you said, Vida, is bang on for me. Yeah. Amazing. I want to turn to, what you both bring to the space and what you offer, because, we have such a beautiful diversity of offerings and people that contribute to the FEAST space. It's something we're proud of. It's something that we get to personally enjoy and, witness the beauty and magic of. What I want to highlight here is that you both, in your collaboration with each other over the last couple of years, have come up with some like really wild and wacky and amazing things, and people have loved them, and it's out there. And reading the names and reading the descriptions, sometimes I imagine people might be like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like, what are we going to be doing? And to witness your participants just like freed in their minds and coming out joyous and smiling and reconnected to, like this innocent, playful center in themselves is like so refreshing. So I'm going to come up with a question somewhere here. And I think the first question is like, where do you guys get this inspiration from? Like, where does it come from that you want to be so beautifully creative with the way that you offer this work?
Well, I mean, it's sort of an expression of our relationship a little bit. I mean, we haven't really talked about that question, but we started talking about rituals a lot.
Mm.
We are quite passionate about the ritual, the power of rituals and the meaning of rituals and the infrastructure of rituals, and then what that actually entails, and diving into that. And then I just think it's us, like the permission space that we have in our dynamic to be have like very conceptual, far-reaching ideas. And it's a very safe place, I feel, our relationship for exploring. I'm never worried to throw something out there with you, David. But I think it's like I'm really passionate about inner child play and play. Really, it's just play, I guess. And then really wanting to, for me, that inner child stuff and play is a very sensual. It's a very important part of my sensuality and sexuality. So on a personal level, that's just what I want to share and what I want to bring. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I think for me, the idea of creativity, like creativity is one of my highest kind of personal values. And I think it is for both of us. And so, we work to create something different and unusual. And I think we both get tired of the same old. Like, we get tired of seeing things presented in the same way. Like, we may have sort of attention span issues or something, some executive function
We've got a
issues,
few neurodiverse people in this space. I think probably almost a majority these days. So it's beautiful.
And so I think the opportunity to say, well, let's do that, but different, has been really important. And I don't know that I would have been able to kind of stick to it if I couldn't, stick to doing workshops and delivering things to people if I couldn't be novel and exercise that kind of creativity and desire to do something a bit, something that I hadn't seen before. And Vida really kind of gives me the opportunity to do that.
And I think there's a need for it. Like, I think there's a need for adults, especially in this space where we're all quite nerdy about, embodiment and neuroscience and nervous system
regulation.
Sex in general. We're all reading books on it. And then it's, I think, really important to play and just be able to have that free space to, like, for your imagination and for your body, and to, I think that's a necessary installation part. Learning.
I feel like you both bring so many layers of transmission to the people in our space, actually. And it's like there's a number of things that no one would ever say the words for, you wouldn't even touch on, they don't get taught about in your workshops, but will be happening for them as they enter your space, I think. And, something I heard you share in particular, Vida, but I think it's resonant in both of your spaces, is like the absolute permission between you and the judgment-free zone, the loving, excited playfulness of like, yeah, what can we come up with? And for that to be the bedrock of everything that you're creating, I think it's putting out this fuck yes, basically, for like life. And it's funny because, when I sit and process your applications, that's what comes up in me. Like my response is fuck yes. And then I think, your participants come in and they might be a bit nervous or uncertain, but by the end, they're just like, oh my God, yes. Like, and so it's just beautiful to see, the way that the oddity and the quirkiness and the nerdiness and the desire to like get in with ritual and find what's unique, that could be so easily judged out in the world. Like people that are looking through our program and might see some of your workshop names might be like, it might be one of the first ones that people judge. I don't know. But, to see us all take a stand for that, in you guys offering it and us programming it, and then the amount of gifts it brings, like, yeah, it's heartwarming for me, I think. And it's I can't help but spotlight it and highlight it in this moment because I think it is so missing. Like people are so constricted and afraid and worried about being silly and, daring to flex into the wider parts of themselves that remain hidden and dormant most of their adult lives. So come to the workshops, guys.
Oh, that is so nice to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I think it's fair to say also that the people who've been in that community who are, at FEAST have been so eager, once they get over the threshold to be themselves. Like it's actually been really easy to get people to be themselves in that space. There's very little kind of backing off once somebody feels their way
People
in.
are hungry for it, and it's because it's existing inside the wide, our workshop that we've done. It's within the wider container of FEAST, where it's more and more. There's a build-up of dropping into yourself, and more permission as the days go by to be in this. It's different. It's different to when you're at work and coming home, and the versions of yourself you have to be in your various roles of your life. You're now entering a different permission space where you can be quite honest.
Yeah.
And so people are dropping in day by day deeper into that. And it's incredible how open people are. It's amazing.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's really a beautiful, tangible demonstration of, or example of how you guys are utilizing our values so effectively and stretching them. Like I don't talk about FEAST values externally much, but when I hear you speaking like that, I think of love and acceptance being two of our central pieces that we platform. And we do hard work to make sure people are having tangible experiences of that. And maybe we can't guarantee everyone is, but the world is so opposite to that, where it's like, yeah, we're going to actively love you for being here. Like we will go out of our way to do our best to love all of these different parts of you. And provided you're being self-responsible and caring towards yourself and others, we're going to accept like all of you as well. And I think they're some of the fastest ways to help people feel like, oh, I'm okay here. And as soon as people feel like I'm okay here and there's a bunch of other people doing some crazy stuff, then it becomes so easy actually, but it's like other spaces, people are challenged in that because they're like, oh, I think I'm going to get judged. I'm not sure. I don't feel safe. Is somebody going to talk about this? Blah, 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 and it's like the ways we get to play because of that safety is super exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, I so agree. And, there can be a real it can happen really quickly. Something can go from being like, this is really new and different and hard. And then the next year you show up and you're like, actually.
Totally. I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Epic. I feel like this is a great moment. I'd love to just there's so much juice here as I suspected there would be. So we don't need to spend long on it, but I just want to spotlight both of you. Tell us a little bit for a minute or so about your professional experience for both of you, and how and if you work with people of the general public outside of FEAST. So if people want to get in touch with you, they know what you offer.
Do you want to go first?
No, you go.
Okay. So I've been a somatic sex educator for, I think, 8 years now. And I do take one-on-one clients occasionally. A lot of it these days is workshops, which I really enjoy doing. But I do take one-on-one clients, and I mostly teach like basic embodiment stuff. And I work with a lot of people who have difficulty receiving. That's one of my favorite kind of things to work with. And, you know, the range of sexological bodywork, somatic sex education things that, you know, that we do and that people come to see us for, you know, are all open. But I particularly, like working with people who are sort of new to embodiment, and people who have, you know, found that they would like to receive more openly and freely, and sort of would like some guidance on doing that.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
Yeah, I think putting my energy more into group spaces and group workshop spaces, and being involved in things like FEAST and running workshop spaces with David. At this particular point, not doing one-on-one, it's not where my focus is. Although it might, who knows? I'm constantly transforming what I want to offer and what I'm doing. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you both. Yeah, and I'm going to put in links into the show notes of this episode. So if anyone wants to reach out to David or Vida, you can. I'm also going to put links into their workshop descriptions and bios on our websites. I'm just going to read out the names, but I don't think we're even going to go into the descriptions or you guys saying anything. You've said so much amazing stuff already. I feel like people can just hang on the mystery of it and go hunting for the workshop description. So David is bringing a fantastic, playful solo workshop that he's facilitating called the Temple of Juice on our Saturday program. And then together, David and Vida are facilitating 2 different offerings. The first one is the Chrysalis. Once again, go to our website if you want to know what that is. It's going to be super cool. And the final one is the Pleasure and Mystery of Ass. So if you're wanting to explore.
I'm going to change it to what were we going to change it to, David?
The Virtuous Circle.
Oh, I love it. We've done this once before on the show where a facilitator was like, actually, just live right now, do you mind if I change the name? And I'm like, no, it's fine. I mean, I love the Pleasure and Mystery of Us, but we can change it. The Virtuous Circle. It can only get better. Amazing. I have one more request of you both in this space before we finish up, and that is for you to finish the sentence for me, including the words that I speak, to say, I'm going to FEAST 2025 because. Do you want to go first, David?
I'm going to FEAST 2025 because it fuels a deep gratitude for community, this particular community, and the ability to contribute that I never thought I would have, the ability to contribute to that kind of community. It's not really a sentence. It's like a collection of phrases. But
I'm really happy with that. I'm happy with multiple sentences. I love what you said. Thank you. And we love receiving from you. Like it's next level.
I'm going to FEAST 2025 because I am deeply in love with the ecstatic expansion in myself and outside of myself in that space.
Epic. Amazing. Wow. I feel super touched by you both, and I feel very nourished and fulfilled by this conversation. I feel like everything happened that I wanted to happen, and getting a little insight into both of your worlds, I think, is so valuable for us and for, you know, the people listening into this episode. So if you enjoyed this, keep tracking us. If you want to know more about the festival, jump over to our website. If you want to see workshop descriptions for David and Vida's workshops that are on our 2025 program, head to their profiles on our website and have a read. There is so much fun to be had, so much learning to be gained, and so much growth to occur just in all the right ways. So it's been a pleasure to be with you both today. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan.
Likewise. Thank you.
Pleasure.